All right, well, this is my favorite time in the evening now, where I get to sit back, relax, and get a bit of coaching myself as well, and introduce our speaker for this evening. So my pleasure tonight to introduce to you Howard Witson, who is the charisma coach. He's an actor, and he works with presenters all over the globe, in fact, on their presentation skills and their delivery. And he does he's got some quite outstanding work with some of the speakers. And when you look at some of the transformation that he's able to achieve, sometimes people come to him for confidence, because they're not very confident in coaching. Other times they are just looking to polish up their skills and just get that, 1% better. And, if you can get 1% better every day, then obviously that's 365% better over the course of a year. Now, Howard and I met, well, we've actually never physically met, but we did meet on a course, which was a James Wedmore course, which was the rise of the digital CEO, which is all about creating courses and programs. So, of course, Howard's got courses and programs that he has in his arsenal of tools as well, too. And we happen to have connected on that program, must have been 2 or 3 years ago now, I think it was. And kept in touch and followed each other, and had a conversation 2 or 3 weeks ago as well too, and thought that what he's got there is perfect for our show tonight. So I'd love you to give a warm virtual welcome to Howard Whitson as he talks about how to level up your speaking in front of camera.
Thank you. I'm a Brit living in Shanghai, and about 2 years ago, I was called into the HQ of Coca-Cola in Shanghai to give advice to their senior executives. Well, what a huge break that was. And I worked for, I think, 2 or 3 months on a perfect PowerPoint presentation to give to them. And when I was in the boardroom, I was setting up the laptop, and I just looked at that boardroom for a moment, and I had the inspiration so that when those people came in that room, I closed my laptop and I said, I'm not going to do the presentation I did. Why? Because you've sat in this boardroom again and again and again, you've had a presentation and you've thought, well, yes, that was good. Maybe I made a few notes and then I went back to my life. I don't want this to be like that. Instead, what I'd like you to do is to tell me what are your personal concerns. And I promise you in the next hour, because I have an hour with them, I will answer those concerns. I want to do the same with you tonight. Or this afternoon. I could give you a lot of exercises and tips and tricks. And you may think, well, that was a great presentation, but it doesn't really apply to me. I just wanted to know how to use a teleprompter on my mobile phone. So I would love you just to get on mic, get on camera, get in the chat and tell me what it's like for you. Are you somebody who's so nervous you can't even go on camera? I see some of you aren't on camera. Is that because you're nervous or because you're having dinner? Or when you get on camera, do you sweat and go red and tremble or fear you're going to go blank, or use a script because you're concerned that otherwise you might mess up and go off track too much? Are you somebody who ums and ahs or who has other verbal tics? Are you someone who's comfortable on camera, but you look at your competitors and you think, I'd love to get to that level where I'm taken really as a professional in my field? Or are you indeed already a professional on camera and you want to go to superstar level? So wherever you're currently at, I'd love you to share your concerns with me now. And I promise I'll do my very best to answer them for you in the next hour. And for those of you who are listening to other people's questions and thinking, well, I already know that, I would just say to you this: the art of getting on a camera really is just that. It's an art, and it's one I'm still learning. Today, my tech isn't that good. I'm a bit grey, I'm a bit ghosty, I'm a bit shadowy. So we've all got stuff to learn. My mics may go, I may get kicked off Zoom. Things happen, life happens. And in this live environment, we can get taken by surprise. So I would ask all of us to leave our ego at the door, including me, and let's just get vulnerable together about what are some of your issues and concerns and challenges when you go on video, and I will do my very best to help you. So it's over to you.
While you're waiting, can I just ask a question?
Yeah, please.
How can I get a gig like Coca-Cola?
So I believe, I know that's a kind of semi-joke, but I believe that that was to do with my charisma. So it does tie in directly with this subject. Some people feel charisma is something that you're born with. I learned my charisma, and I learned it through years of hard work, but I've distilled that into certain techniques that you can use. So you increase engagement, you increase connection with people. So actually, I don't know if that was a question in complete jest or you really want to get into that realm, but if you do, then charisma for me cuts through so much noise, so much desperate selling, if you want to put it that way. So
no,
much
super serious, and
yeah.
so what I'm going to do, if that's all right with you, is are you on LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook.
Good. So
I'm
if I go on LinkedIn and put your name, will you connect with me?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can have a chat about it.
That's what I mean. So we don't not now, but later. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Howard, does that that charisma that you speak about, does that come from being passionate about what you do as well? Is that part of that?
Passion is a massive part of charisma, in my view. If you look at very charismatic people, they deeply believe in their message, their passion, their mission. I'm on a mission to make 1 million people charismatic on camera, because in my view, there's too much what I call bland leading the bland. And, you know, I've done it myself. I've been guilty of this, lacking passion. So when I first came online, even though I've got decades of experience as an actor, as a global coach, when I came online, I didn't have a tech crew. You know, it may have been okay when I was on a Bond movie, but I didn't have a script. I had no one to help me. And so I reached out for scripts and templates and formulas. And guess what happened? I ended up sounding scripted and templated and formulaic and very much like everyone else. So I do believe it's about passion, but it's about the ability to bring that passion out and bring it in and through the camera lens, so you reach and touch the hearts and souls and minds of your audience. And that is partly technical. That's partly just simply me approaching the camera. So there are many ways of bringing our passion to the screen. I hope that helps. It's a long answer to a short question.
No, that answers. No, that's cool. Awesome.
I assume you're all here. I'm going to gently cajole you. I assume you all or most of you are here because you have something you want to learn. I can give you generic stuff if you wish. And then that's a kind of scattergun, hit and miss. But if you've got a specific question you'd like answered, I saw a hand raised. Please unmute yourself. Go ahead.
I'm unmuted. I see you're connected, I think, to Tom Poland. Now, he does blogs and podcasts and things.
Correct.
Did you find what he did useful?
Yes, so I am in Shanghai. I'm, as well as my charisma coach, I have a job as a senior wealth manager. And for something like a year, I ran a podcast called Wealth Without Borders that was based on Tom Poland's model. And what I love about it, is it's a way of connecting with people that brings great value to them, to you, and to your audience. And I think Tom is a wonderful man, teacher, and I learned a lot from his course. By the way, I've spent tens of thousands of pounds, dollars, Aussie dollars, euros on different courses, and not all of them have been brilliant, but his I really like because you're bringing value to people. It helps you connect with people that perhaps otherwise may be difficult to connect with if you're going straight for a kind of a business approach. Yeah, I see a raised hand. Please go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hi, Howard.
Ron.
Ron here.
Hi.
One of the things about being on video and also podcasts is that you're very much in a moment, and keeping the flow of your thoughts, because it's easy to sort of get sidetracked or off course or such. Now, do you have any techniques of how to keep the flow of your conversation and the moderation of your conversation, engaging?
Those are two separate questions for me. One is in the absence of a structure in the moment. How do we stop ourselves from wandering? Was that inherent, or is it really about how to engage?
Just unmute myself. Yeah, it's like I've been on video podcasts, and I get excited about what I'm talking about, but I get to a point where I think, whoops, I'm off track, or, you just have those momentary blanks.
Yeah. Okay, so here's an overall view. Many people, when they come to putting on a presentation or a structured form of delivery, start at the beginning and then work their way through. And I would say start with the end point. Very, very clear. I absolutely know how we are going to end my part of this presentation. And I'm all the time working towards that. So I have that as an absolute goal. And once I have that as a single goal, then I can draw right back and think about how I'm going to begin. So let's just say, what do you do, Ron? Oh, you did say, but I've forgotten now.
Yeah, no, I deal with animal anxiety. So we're launching new ideas for pet owners and for veterinarians into the anxiety, calming anxiety in animals.
All right, so let's say on a podcast that your end goal is that you're going to offer people a free checklist on 5 ways you can reduce anxiety in your dog. And that is how you know you're going to end. Now you can think about, given that, could the beginning be some kind of engaging story about an anxious dog? So one way to begin is with a story, as I began with my Coca-Cola story. So that story links with a structure I am holding inside me. I'm not using a teleprompter. I'm not using a script, but I'm able to keep on a very tight line simply because I know where I'm going. So you've got your end, you've got your beginning, and then you want 1 or 2 props in the middle. So you might think, and I've got some exercises prepared for you, because it may be that none of you have any questions, or none of you feel comfortable to ask them, or you just think, no, come on, Howard, what have you got? So for whatever reason, it may not go the way I think it's going to go. So I have 1 or 2 things prepared for you. So I have a beginning, 1 or 2 things prepared, and an end. And then here's something you can do. I'm not doing this, but you can do it. Number 1 is, here's my camera lens, and here is just to the side of the lens. And right there on the side of the lens, you can put a small piece of paper with 3 notes. What's your beginning? What's your middle? What's your end? And any time you feel yourself, hang on, I've wandered off here into a side alley, you can have a look at the note and bring yourself back on track. The second thing you can do if you wish, you, my audience, cannot see what's on the other side of this camera. And there is, in fact, a big wall. And I could, if I wanted, have a big note up here with the beginning, there with the middle, and there with the end. And I want to put it in different places. So here's how it looks, Ron. I once met a very anxious Alsatian. He would bark whenever anybody came close to the door. And to you, it looks as though I'm just having a little bit of a think, but I'm having a bit of a look at my notes. And then perhaps in the middle, it could be a quick tip. So here's a quick tip for you. You take the leash of the Alsatian. I have no idea how to do this, I'm making it up as I go along. You take the leash of the Alsatian and you put something on there to calm it down. And then I look up at the end for my call to action. And I'd love you to download this checklist. I've built it. And so you're just simply referring to some notes. So that's one part of your question. When it comes to engagement itself, there are some techniques that I'm going to give you. Here's one. Are you ready for this one? It is silence. There's absolutely no harm in just taking a breath, or, excuse me, it's 40 degrees or something ridiculous in Shanghai, having some water. I don't think there's one of you on tonight who's thinking, Howard, you bastard, drinking water like that in front of me. No, we're all human beings. And so silence and having a little bit of water and just taking a breath can connect you. The other thing you can do is this, Ron. I'm just throwing techniques at you. Use whatever you like. You can say this subject of anxious pets is so critical to me today that I've made some notes. It could be a piece of paper, it can be a phone. And I'm going to refer to these occasionally because I want to make sure that you get all the points that I've noted here for your benefit. And every now and then, have a look at your notes. Again, nobody will mind. We're living in a world where we create a huge amount of expectation for ourselves that we have to be smooth as silk and smooth as butter, and we mustn't ever make any fallible or vulnerable statements or show that we're human. You know, we have to be like the machine, like all these gurus we see online. And if we're not that, then somehow we're less than. My feeling is we're so saturated with, if you don't mind me saying, bullshit, you know, people selling us stuff that doesn't work, people, you know, hyping stuff up and offering us $20,000 worth of bonuses for a mere $2.99, you know, and we're all jaded and we're all skeptical as hell. We've all, I'm sure I have, lost money. Put your hand up if you've lost money on stuff online, you know, and so we're all kind of armed with a natural skepticism. You know what cuts through it best? Just being your best self, your best business self. So bring that best self to the screen, have that structure, use some silence, use some pauses, have a drink of water every now and then. This is a subject I could take up the whole hour on. I'm not going to, because other people will probably have questions, but I hope that at least gives you a start.
That's really great. I noticed too, one of the techniques you're using is emphasizing by leaning into the lens.
Yes, that's right. So in the absence of being able to shake somebody by the hand, we can't do that anymore. So I would only use it very judiciously, Ron. Every now and then you want to lean in, or alternatively, you can, my lights are a bit messed up, so forgive me for this. I'm going to crash into my green screen, but you can lean right out and say, look, this is the big picture, folks. you know, here's the overall picture of why your pet is anxious. And so you can use that distance very nicely. You can also use your voice and your body language. Too much really for me to cram into an hour, but there are many techniques. But I think most people get onto deviation too long when they don't have a tight structure. So if I know I'm going from Shanghai to Paris, that is my journey. I'm not then going to say, oh, I think I'll pop off to the North Pole, and while we're there, we might as well go back down to Australia because I want to see Nick in the real world. You know, we've only ever met online, and then we're going to whiz over to Germany, and then perhaps I'll come back to Shanghai for a cup of tea and then go to Paris. No, it's basically I'm going Shanghai across Europe and into Paris, boom. And so you want to really keep your awareness of that. You're noticing things I'm doing because I'm drawing your attention to them and I'm exaggerating them a bit. Again, you'll notice I'm standing. If I sit, I'm more limited. I can only kind of lean a bit. If I stand and I stand with my feet like this, which my feet are, I can lean right in. Oh, nice shoes you've got on there, Ron. Yeah. And then I can pull right back on, and I'm basically on just pivoting on my legs. And it enables me to really use this frame, this universe, and bring that message to you.
Thank you, Howard. That's really good. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yeah, Adrian's got a question.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
have.
please.
Yeah, Howard, question for you. With the learning styles of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, obviously with video, we're more auditory and visual. So some tips on engaging the kinesthetic, like myself. I've always got a pencil in my hand and doing something. So obviously you've probably come across this, and just a couple of tips on how to really engage us kinesthetics.
Okay, so this is super important, Adrian. I'd like you to write this down. Are you ready?
With my pencil already,
Just
man.
three words.
Yeah.
It's ready, write. I want you to write the word right.
Yeah.
This down.
Yep.
So I think it's a fantastic way to get people to do stuff, to write stuff, to draw stuff. Get them engaged in that touchy-feely way. One of the things I encourage people to do, what business are you in, Adrian?
Coaching, and I'm an author as well. All right.
What coaching in what discipline?
Coaching mostly around that health and well-being space.
Okay, so do you ever use any props?
Yeah, when if I'm doing webinars, etc., I pick them up and I get people to pick things up because I'm kinesthetic. I like to teach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, you've already half answered your own question.
Yeah,
I think.
I thought you might have some other ones that you use that might be new to me.
Well, I love the use of props.
Yeah.
And again, it depends how you're using them. I love the emotional use of props.
Okay.
So I'm going to make this up, Adrian, so please forgive me if I'm totally off the mark. So I bought this candle from a Swami in India. And when I bought it, he was sitting under what we call a Bodhi tree in a state of grace, and he didn't even really know I was there. And I simply left money, and I've brought it all the way here today, and I'm going to light it for the very first time. So it's not just, okay, everyone, take a candle. So write this down. Props are emotional and psychological, and if you believe in it, spiritual doorways, just as the visual is. And then I would say get some objects that have smells and tastes. Have them, smelling a fresh lemon. Ask everyone to bring along their favorite cut, something that it represents their favorite color. Because for me, you know, the kinesthetic, if you buy that way of dividing people, by the way, because it's contentious, but if you do, then I would say that make those the visual equivalent of this connection. It's, in other words, it's a way to connect. But remember, you're only, if you do buy that, you're only going to connect with the kinesthetics in your entourage. And therefore, you know, you'll want to step outside of your way and go into some of the more visual and auditory richness that you can tap.
Yeah, I notice for myself, if I'm on a webinar, if I go to a live presentation, if that kinesthetic isn't there, I tend to leave and not be as connected. And I know a lot of other people in that space too. So it's about, for me, about bringing in all those learning styles. And yeah, it's a great, I've actually really got some good thoughts and ideas from what you've just shared. So thank you.
Great. And what operating system do you use?
In terms of, in what perspective?
Is it a MacBook or a Windows or?
Oh yeah, I use Mac. Yep.
So have you heard of Ecamm Live?
No, I haven't. No.
So it's a bit, now it is a bit techie.
Yeah.
Nick might pull me to pieces for mentioning Ecamm Live. I don't know, but Ecamm Live, you can bring in visuals and you can bring in objects in a sense, and you can, I mean, obviously there's nothing like physically holding an object, but you can bring in different ways of presenting that can add. You have to be a bit careful because you don't want to get too gadgety and too gizmo like, but just occasionally you can have a sound, you know, an explosion, a round of applause, all different ways of connecting with people.
Okay, I'll have a check it out and have a look, and I can always pre-record something and have it behind me if I'm doing Zoom anyway. I can hit the record button and come through. So.
Correct.
Yeah.
And from my way of thinking, there's nothing more powerful than our body, our voice, our hearts, our minds, our souls, our spirits, because they're all interconnected. And so, you know, I'm passionate about what I talk about. Hopefully by now you feel, well, he probably knows what he's talking about. And that's without the use of any gizmos. I didn't set this candle, you know.
I love the candle in disguise. I just love it.
Yeah. Who knew?
I thought it was a Coca-Cola bottle. It was probably what they paid you after your Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I should actually ask them for some commission on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Howard. That was great. Yeah, so my mind is got a few little ideas and concepts I can bring in from that. Thank you.
Great, fantastic.
Okay, there's a question for in the chat room from Jenny from the Gold Coast with the purple hair. I noticed that. Do you have any tips to avoid ums and ahs, because she tends to say so and so on too much? And I noticed that you only said once.
Yeah, occasionally is fine. If it's a pervasive verbal tic, it can create problems in the audience in terms of they start listening to the ums, or we start becoming aware of our own ums, and it can interfere. So the technique is this: take a sentence, any sentence at all. It can be, I'm delighted to be here on Zoom. And what we do is this: we breathe in, we deliver the sentence on the breath, we stop, we breathe in, and then we deliver the next one. So it looks like this: I'm delighted to be here on Zoom. It's the perfect medium for talking about ums and ahs. One breath equals one sentence. Then I stop and do it all again. And you do it very mechanically at the beginning. So it's literally breathe in, and all you're doing is focusing through that sentence. And you're just on, and you don't want to strain the breath. So it doesn't want to be this: I'm delighted to be here on Zoom because it's a wonderful medium and I'm starting to run out of breath. And or it doesn't want to be one sentence running on after the other. I'm delighted to be here on Zoom. It's a wonderful medium for getting across about ums and ahs, and that's what I'm doing, one sentence after another, because not only will you run out of breath, but when we run our sentences on quickly, the comes in usually because we're trying to think of what to say next. So we're substituting that moment of thinking for a breath. So every time we get to the end of a thought, we breathe and then we speak again. And in the end, it becomes completely natural. And you'll find in just a few minutes your ums and ahs are going. But then you have to keep topping it up, because if you've got ums and ahs, you've probably had them a long time and they've got a sneaky way of creeping back in, particularly if we're stressed or we're not quite sure of where we're going on our presentation. So it's the kind of thing you want to practice for a few minutes a day, for a week, few days, and you'll be amazed at the effect it has.
Excellent, thank you.
My pleasure. I have to actually credit that technique to a voice coach called Roger Love, who trains some of the biggest stars in the world. Great guy. Had a bit of interaction with Roger. I believe there's more to life than the voice, but hey, if you've got vocal issues, he's great. Any other questions? How are we doing for time?
Yeah, we're pretty good at the moment, so I've got about 20 minutes.
Okay. Would you like me to just give you a bit of a general technique? How about that? Yes?
Sounds good to me.
Yes, please.
All right. So I just want you to ask yourself this question, and if you want, you can answer me. What do you do to prepare before you go on camera? Have a think about what you do. So some people spend a lot of time working on their presentation. Some of you, I don't know, you might jump up and down a few times and go, rah, 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 let's go, we've got this. I don't know. But I have this crazy idea that when I go on video, as I am today, lighting issues aside, I am as absolutely professional and concise, compelling, and captivating as I can be. And there's only one way I can achieve that, and that's by warming up. It's the equivalent of an athlete who's going out onto the track to run 100 meters. Well, they're going to warm up before they run that race. They're not going to have the warm up in the race. So I'm just going to give you a quick exercise that you can do to warm up. And the beautiful thing about the fact that everything is linked, our body, our minds, our hearts, our souls, is that if we warm our body up, it helps us relax. So here's what we're going to do, and you can do it along with me if you wish. So sit comfortably with your feet flat on the floor. I don't know if any of you are standing crazily like me, but put your feet flat on the floor, have your hands relaxed, maybe just on your thighs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tense and release the different muscle groups in our body cumulatively. And at the end of 2 minutes, if you've done this right, you should feel a heat from that and you should feel relaxed. So just make a mental note of how you're feeling now, without judgment, without any yes or no, just if you're a bit stressed, if you're nervous, if you're relaxed, if you're tired, if you're energetic, wherever you're currently at. Okay, and now I want you to tense, scrunch up your feet and relax them. And now scrunch up your feet and your calves and relax them. And now scrunch up your feet, your calves and your thighs, and then relax them. Feet, your calves, your thighs and your butt, that's the biggest muscle in the body, and relax. Tense your feet, your calves, your thighs, your butt, your stomach, and relax. Your feet, your calves, your thighs, your butt, your stomach and your chest, and relax. Your feet, your calves, your thighs, your butt, your stomach, your chest, into your shoulders, down into your arms. grip your hands, scrunch up your face, and relax. Okay, the temperature just went up 5 degrees here in Shanghai. That is just a super simple, quick way, wherever you are, just to get a little bit warmed up. Does anyone want to just give me some feedback on that?
Yeah, my fingers started to tingle after that.
Fantastic. The finger tingle.
Yeah.
The finger tingle is a sign things are working. And do you feel a bit more relaxed?
Yeah, I feel the tension is not there. When I first started, my muscles were sort of tense, cold and tense. Mm.
So we carry generally a lot of tension in our neck and shoulders. The other thing you can do is you can give yourself a little massage before you start, just on the neck and the shoulder area. Little easy warm up. And then the other thing I would do is I would warm up, and I did warm up my voice, because the voice is a massive, powerful weapon of influence. And if I came on with this, so I was in Coca-Cola and I decided to abandon my, and you're thinking, what's he saying? He sounds as though he's had too many cigarettes, too many late nights. Who is this man? So my ability to use my voice and your ability relies on us using it as an instrument. Now, you have to be a bit careful with this. This is not something you want to go on YouTube for free with. And, how do I improve my voice? The reason being, if you do it incorrectly, your voice can get worse and be permanently damaged. So you must be very careful. One example of that, lover or loather, was Margaret Thatcher. If you look at early images of Margaret Thatcher, her voice was about an octave higher. And she went to her PR managers and said, I want to improve my image. And they taught her in the wrong way to lower her voice. So yes, she did sound like that, and I'm going to lead England to greatness. But her voice was ruined as a result. So I'm just going to give you the broad overview of how to improve your voice very quickly. Number one is to breathe. And we want to breathe from this area of our body, the diaphragm. And you may or may not be familiar with it, but it's a membrane that moves up and down under the ribs. And this is another reason why it's so great to stand up, because it allows us to breathe from down in the stomach. When we're sitting, we tend to crunch our stomach up and our voice loses power and resonance. So one exercise is simply to breathe from the diaphragm. So I can put my hands on the bottom of my ribs. You can try this with me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine that my ribs are a big circle. And as I breathe in through my nose, I'm going to imagine that circle expanding like a balloon. So it goes like this. And then as I breathe out through my mouth, I imagine it contracting. And if you just try that 2 or 3 times, it will help relax your voice a bit. It's not the whole exercise. And it again will help you to relax. I don't think we have time for the second and third stages in too much detail, and I'm hesitant to go into them with you on a half-assed basis because I don't want to mess your voice up. But I wasn't planning on this, Nick, but I do have some voice training videos. If people reach out to me, howard@charismacoach.biz, if you're interested in improving your voice, and just say, I'd like the voice videos, Howard. I'll have them sent over to you because that's just the first stage, the diaphragmatic breathing. The second stage is resonance, and the third stage is projection. When you have those 3 stages down, in about 5 minutes before you begin, you can set up your tech, and then you can do a bit of a physical warm-up, a little bit of voice work, and boom, you're ready to hit the camera, as it were. So I hope that's helpful to you.
Do you ever
Any other? Yeah.
Do you ever do? I do something called transcendental meditation, which basically relaxes the entire body and sort of opens you out to, as it were, the universe. And do you do some sort of relaxing exercises, which then clarifies you and clears you, so you can just take on anything that comes to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much a sort of a down-to-earth, practical man, Peter, and for me, I meditate while I work out. So, you know, I do high intensity training. I find that very meditative. But what I do is I go through a physical routine of warming up my body, warming up my voice, and then I put on my best business self, which involves a whole kind of ritual that I do. And then I'm super clear about my objectives, that question that came up with Peter. And that gives me relaxation physically and vocally, and clarity in terms of where I'm going.
Yeah, so the result's the same, yeah. It's just a different way of doing it, and which is good.
Yeah, I know. And I know many people who meditate before they begin. I would just say, I don't want to be too calm. I mean, there are some people who are so nervous that they take beta blockers before they go on, and then they're fine and everyone else is bored out of their head. So a bit of nerves, a bit of energy is actually a good thing, I would say. We don't want to be soporifically calm. To me, there's a difference between clarity and relaxation with energy and dynamism and passion. So I think those are important qualities to bring.
Thank you.
So, yeah, anyone else got any questions, or I'm happy to give you a bit more by way of tips, tricks, or we can wrap it up. And we've got about 15 minutes, is that right? Yeah. So, quick exercise for you. This exercise is called status. So this is really all around the way that we project our power, and we can use it on camera. So many of us inadvertently represent our status in a way that isn't what we would best like. So let's say, for example, I have the camera here, down here, and I'm here like this. This is quite a low status position if I'm sort of looking up at you. Alternatively, if I'm looking down on you, I'm kind of dominating you. You can see Nick is framed brilliantly, better than me actually, in this particular case, in terms of how well lit he is and how his eyes are on the line of what we call 1/3. Again, you may or may not be familiar with this principle of 1/3, but about 1/3 down. And he's lit very well. My lighting all got messed up today, so there you go. The charisma coach who couldn't light himself. But generally speaking, we don't want, now if you don't mind me saying, the headshot guy, right? You and me, our visual experts, we're messing up, I think. You're a bit too backlit, right? And I'm a bit too dark. So these things massively affect our status from a subconscious level. I hope you don't mind me picking out people, if you like. Neil, a little bit dark and a bit low down. So you'll want to have more light in your shot, and you want to lift yourself up to Nick's level so that your status is really one of an equal talking across the room to a trusted colleague, rather than this dominating down, looking up, or the backlit, what I call the interrogation look, you know, where were you on the night of the 13th? So just be aware of the frame. And then again, I'm picking on you entirely unfairly, Pam. So you've got a landscape, a portrait shot. And generally speaking, landscape is the way to go, generally, because it allows you to move around and be much more expressive. The portrait is difficult because then we're having to do this sort of gesturing a lot of the time, and we lose the ability to gesture. So again, Kate, thank you for coming on. A little bit dark here on the side. So there's something called, I'm doing it, but not very well, which is why my lighting's messed up. There's something called 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point lighting. So 1 point lighting, if you've only got one light, have it above you and at 45 degrees facing down. Do not go for a ring light. I hate ring lights. They flatten the face. Nick might have one, and if he does, I'm going to just bring him to top. No, he's good. Okay. So one on the side like that. If you can go to 2 lights, the second light should be level with your face. And this is the one I'm missing at the moment, technical stuff, and pointing sideways on. And then if you can do a third light, it should be above you and coming down onto your head and shoulders. So either use 1 point or 2 point or 3 point. I think your lighting, Adrian, is very nice. I think it's good lighting there. Some of you aren't on camera, and now you're really glad you're not on camera, because I can't pick on you in that mean way. But I would just say, be very aware of this framing. I've used a green screen here. So this is my green screen. They're very simple to use. There's a lot of bullshit talked about green screens, but they're easy. They can have creases in them. They don't have to be necessarily that brilliantly lit, but you need a camera that can adjust the white balance, the contrast, the tone, because these things are what affects this ghosting. I've got a little bit of ghosting, I think, down here somewhere because of the lighting aspect. So again, I'm at a level where I'm picking on you now, you know, picking out little things, because those things can make a huge difference for very little effort. Yeah, you can use that light with no problem, Neil. You just need to get it so it's sort of angled at 45 degrees down on you. And then it should work. And again, if you want, just reach out to me at howard@charismacoach.biz and I will give you some tips. So what did Jen, I think there's some chat going on. Let me just have a quick look. You just bought 2 ring lights. Well, never mind. They're okay. The problem with a ring light is when it's facing you, it flattens you. So if you've got 2 ring lights and you have them, many people have them here and here, it's not as interesting shadow-wise as having one up above you there and one sideways on and close to you here. And just play with that and you'll see some interesting shadows coming in. That the 2 ring lights like this, it kind of flattens us out, and so it doesn't really do us much justice, I think. Again, we're living in this world where, you know, nobody wants to see a wrinkle or a spot, but in my view, being real and genuine, you know, right now I'm in about a 37-degree room and I'm hot, I'm sweating, right? So this is just human. I didn't want to come on and be the perfect, you know, smooth as silk kind of a person, because to me, that's not what I represent. That's not how I've found my success. I'm strategic with my lights and my green screen, but it's not overproduced. So I think we can go the other way. And you might, I don't know your name, the headshot guy, but I feel I should because you did speak. But again, you may agree with me as a fellow professional, you know, we don't want to overproduce our headshots, right? We want them to be natural through the judicious use of lighting. And so you're now much better lit.
I just put
I'm
my
liking
little
that.
I put my little light on that I'd normally use, but I've got it set up for videos actually over at the back of you there. So I didn't turn it on when I joined the thing, and now you better go.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I better put it on.
Yeah, I'm just totally unjustly having a go at you,
But
basically.
no, it's all right. No, I deserved it. I deserved it. I knew I wasn't doing very well.
I'm
but
just
no,
trying.
everything you're saying is absolutely spot on. And those rule of thirds techniques where your eyes, and I love the reason that we like this view, and it's the reason why movie screens and TV screens and computer screens, iPhones, all our phones are in that horizontal format, is because our eyes are next to each other. And when we look at the world, we look at it in a rectangular horizontal viewpoint. So it matches our eyes. That's why cinemas do it, movie theaters, TVs, etc., etc. So rule of thirds is about putting your eyes, which when you're looking at a head, the eyes are the most important thing. And you put that on that rule of thirds, that top third line, which is where Nick's got his eyes, where I try and keep my eyes when I can. But yeah, all those rules are spot on. But yeah, getting well lit. The only thing I disagreed with you, and I hope you don't mind me saying this.
I don't. I love
about a 45-degree one light.
45.
45-degree one light. I tend to go straight up above with one light.
Try it. Yeah, try the 45-degree one.
Yeah. Okay.
If you've only got one light.
Yep.
But yeah, try it. I mean, you want to have a look that you like ultimately.
Sure. Sure.
I think there is a place for the portrait shot, which is if I'm shoving a phone in my face to do a quick 2-3 minute TikTok video or a conversational video. Yes, that is perfect. Where I'm just doing some spontaneous thoughts into the camera. I actually want it then to be portrait. I don't want it landscape, because then it seems overproduced in a way in that rough and raw. So this is good if you want to give the feeling of real spontaneous. Oh, I just walked past something. I had a brilliant thought about what I do and I want to share it with you right now because I've just got to, and you just literally have that feel. Then the portrait, I think, is great for that. And I use it a lot for that. And by the way, just so you know, what is your name, the headshot guy? Because that's all I see on.
My name is Brad.
Brad. So I think I don't like teleprompters generally because I've delivered using them. And unless you're absolutely at professional level, people are going to know you're delivering using a script. There are a couple of tips I'll give you just in the last 5 minutes. One is if you want to use a teleprompter on your phone, I would go for a teleprompter called, unsurprisingly, Teleprompter. The clue's in the name. And I just think it's very good. And it sits right next to the lens, portrait or landscape, and you can adjust the speed. You can have various levels of gradation of the color and the size of the font. What I would say is this. If you're going to use a script, don't write it. Don't write it. Record it. And record it and then transcribe it using Otter AI or any other equivalent. Why? Because you want to talk the way you talk. When we write, as you will know, Adrian, when you're writing, you're going to write and consider grammar and the structure of a sentence and the impact of that sentence from the point of view of the writer's eye. If you took a transcript of this presentation I've given you, it's a grammatical mess. It's a grammatical nonsense. I start sentences and stop them. I hesitate. I have a thought and then another thought. So we want to, as much as possible, capture that in the script itself. That's tip number one. Tip number two is build in pauses and moments where you can laugh. Again, one of the problems of the teleprompter is I'm following the script. I know that I can alter the speed and follow it like this, but it's still becoming kind of regular. So one danger is the tone of reading. And another is that we just kind of go through the script. You know, this is a script that I've prepared and I'm very happy to see you here today. My name's Howard and I'm a critic. What I want to be able to do is this. Let me tell you something about charisma. It was 2 years ago, and what I've done is I've left a huge gap in the text whilst I pause, look away from the camera and come back to the script. There are teleprompters that will stop and start as you stop and start talking, but I don't like them and I've never liked them. So I'll build a pause in, and the same with laughter. You know, I'll say something, ha, 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 ha. I have a laugh and I put a big gap in the script while I have that laugh. So those are just some tips to help you to get more natural. But I think my number one tip for you, Brad, is don't use a teleprompter at all. You never need one. Because some of the times we think, oh, I'm doing a sales video, virtual sales letter. I must absolutely hit these benefits and features and transformation and all this stuff I've got to get in there. And because we feel that, we go to the script. But even the best are delivering to an auto cue. They're not delivering to their audience. I'm delivering now live to you, my audience. I'm not following words on a screen. So whenever and I'm trained as a professional actor, whenever I've used an auto cue, I've always felt I'm a little bit, although I'm secure because I know what I'm saying, I'm a little bit not quite my whole self. You know, Nick knows me as a kind of fun, bubbly, spontaneous type of person. When I'm reading a script, it's much more, you know, official, business-like. Now, there may be times you want to represent yourself in that way. So it does depend. But I'd say don't use an auto cue. And that's it. So I do have a free gift for you. I don't know if now is the time to mention that.
Now is definitely the time to mention that.
So for those of you who have stayed, I have a free gift. So I interviewed 17 of the world's experts on public speaking, and they were all very generous and gave me a host of tips, tricks, techniques, just like these. And it's a Bible of public speaking or speaking on camera. It's called Own the Room. It's on Amazon currently at $9.99 for the Kindle. I want Nick's tribe who have stayed to have it for free. So there's the link in the chat. Please go grab it. All I want in exchange is your email, and then I'll mercilessly send you 10 emails a day. No, I'm joking. So, but yeah, get that book because I just think, oh, there's some wonderful advice in there from all different experts globally. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you all. If you'd like to talk to me one-to-one about how you want to accelerate your own video presentations, if you want to sell on video, put videos together, just go to bookwithhoward.com and find a time. I'm kind of in your time zone in Shanghai. I'm either in your time zone or 2 or 3 hours behind you. So, and I'm always happy to chat further with you about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Howard. I have got 2 pages of notes here that I've taken. I do a lot of speaking, and it's just really sort of interesting. Some of the tips that you've given, I've just learned so much from today, and just having a look at the chat as well too. Some of the comments coming through that, you know, it's been very valuable as well. So I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad it's not midnight for you in Shanghai, that it's only a couple of hours behind. So I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Nick. It's wonderful to see you and meet some members of your tribe.
Indeed. And we do have a door prize to give away too, do we? Do we have a door
We
prize?
do.
Yes. So, and we've got a special way of drawing that today. Do you want to tell us what the door prize is?
Yes. So the door prize is a free 30-minute laser coaching for you on your video skills. So be able to really go deep, get you some great progress.
And in fact, I guess you do it on Zoom, don't you? So you do it on video, teachings of how to do it on video. In fact, I had a session with Howard as well, and he is just amazing. He just really nailed one of the issues that I had. So it's certainly been very valuable for me. So that's the prize for tonight. We do have a special way of drawing. We have our wheel of names that some of us are familiar with. So everybody's name is in here, and you have to be here to win as well too. So if you're not, then we just hit the redraw button and redraw it. All right, so let's give us a virtual drum roll, please, as we spin this wheel until it lands on the lucky winner, who is Ron Beswick. Look at that, eh?
Hey.
What's up, Ron? You still here, Ron?
Yes, I am. I'm still here.
There he is,
Excellent.
eh? You've got a beautiful photo of you and your wife there, so looking at us. So that's perfect.
Oh,
Awesome. That's
sorry, I didn't realize the video was off too.
that's right. It's always better to see your face, Ron.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, very helpful session, Howard. I really enjoyed it.
My pleasure, and I look forward to our laser coaching session.
Oh, that sounds pretty sharp.
It'll be a sharp but gentle and loving.
Excellent.
And we'll hook you both up by email tomorrow. So we'll do an introduction by email, and then you can organize the logistics of making this happen. So well done, Ron, because I'm looking forward to hearing you speak as well too.
Yeah, thank you.
Particularly after this laser focus session.
Oh, looking forward to it.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks
Well,
very
look,
much.
thanks again, everyone, for coming along tonight for Business Owners Smashing It Online. Thanks to Howard for sharing his wisdom and some of the tips tonight. I've got a heap of value out of that, and I know other people have as well. So let's give Howard a big virtual round of applause.
Thank you.
Thanks, Howard. Excellent. I'm glad to hear there's some sound effects for some as well too. All right, so if you want to watch this again, it will be up on YouTube tomorrow on the Smash Go YouTube channel. Best way to do it is to click the link. It's in chat, and you can subscribe to the channel. Best thing to do is when you subscribe, click the bell that you see just after you subscribe. Then you'll get a notification when the video is uploaded. And of course, if you also if you're not a member of Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook group, now is a perfect time to go and click that link in chat and go and join. If you want to go and visit some of those online tools and apps, then click those three little dots at the bottom right of the chat, and that will save it to your computer, and then you can just go and click those links. And if you want to get in touch with Howard as well too, his links are in there as well. Remember that video training that is on his that you can email him for. And if you're wanting to chat more about your presentation skills and how you can develop your charisma, then reach out to Howard as well. So that's Business Owners Smashing It Online again for this week. Thanks again, Howard, for coming in and beaming in from Shanghai. And thanks everyone for turning up. Look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great week.